Welcome to another exciting episode of the Epic Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars, the Chairman and CEO of ActionCOACH, and today we're diving into the minds of some incredible business leaders, uncovering their real stories, strategies, and the secrets behind their victories. It's not just about success, it's about the journey, the hurdles, and turning challenges into opportunities. So let's jump right into it.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Epic Entrepreneur Podcast, powered by ActionCOACH all over the world. Today, I'm your host, Coach Andy O'Brien, and my esteemed guest is Alan Stevens, and he is with us on holiday from sunny Spain. Welcome.
Thank you, Andy. It's great to be with you. Yeah, my name is Alan Stevens, and I'm the Managing Director of Camrider NDI. NDI stands for Norwich, Diss and Ipswich, and they're towns in East Anglia in the UK. And what I do is motorcycle training, and we do everything from very basic training all the way through to advanced training.
Well, that is excellent. So, let's talk. Obviously, learning how to ride a motorcycle, but advanced, racing these motorcycles?
No, we don't do racing, so it's all about teaching people to ride safely on the road. I'm a former police officer, retired after serving 41 years in the police, and I've seen, regrettably, far too many times firsthand people falling foul of not knowing road awareness, road safety, and I am passionate about motorcyclists being safe on the road.
That is excellent. Everybody could use. I also owned a motorcycle a long time ago. Took a lot of classes with what used to be the GWRRA, which is Goldwing Road Riders Association. Yep. But yes, this will be great. So let's jump in. So we just talked about your passion as a police officer, right? So give us the top three things that made you successful in this business, and how can others follow your footsteps?
Sure. Well, the very first thing I did was introspective. I took a good look at myself. Now, being a police officer and for so long, I realised that yes, I'm used to managing people, I'm used to managing tasks, and I'm used to managing within a budget. What I wasn't aware of is how to manage a company. So I set about in upskilling myself in business, and I came to ActionCOACH to be upskilled. And that worked extremely well for me. So shortly after that, I was then had a vision of where the company currently is, and it was just a small hobby, to where I wanted to be. So I set about making goals and setting a vision for how the company would look in the future. And I dreamt. Andy, I dreamt big. Where do I want this company to be? Oh, well, I want to be a multi-millionaire, and I dreamt big. But then I sat down, how am I going to achieve that? What can I actually do to achieve it? So that was the very first thing, or the two first things that I did. Then after that, I wanted the correct people around me. So the instructors that we employ weren't just employed for their skills in teaching motorcycle. I wanted them to buy into the business, to understand the business, to understand our values and what we wanted to be. We didn't want to just set out to train people. We wanted people to be safe, but we also take great pride in going that step further. We are one of the very few motorcycle trainers in the country, in the UK, that are quite happy to take people with neurodiversity issues, with physical disabilities. A lot of companies will turn them away. We won't. We will go to, sometimes we'll go to people's houses if that's where they need to be picked up from, and bring them to our centre. We would do what we can to help people, and that sets us apart. It's our USP, if you like.
Right. I love that. So with all your experience, as a police officer, obviously, and now as a business owner, let's bring these back. So all the things that you could have done as a police officer after, and all of that. So you talked about passion a little bit earlier. So why motorcycle training? Why this area of business for you and your family?
Yeah, this may come as a surprise. I didn't actually set out to do this. I was helping a friend That's how I got into it. I was helping a friend who needed some assistance in running the business. And then I thought, actually, I want to be the best I can at doing this. And I can bring my passion for road safety into this. So whilst it started off as an accident, it grew around me. I wanted to make a difference in road safety. Road safety, it does bring risks. It's a tremendous skill, but it brings so much to people. It really does. It's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of purpose. So it's not just a transport or an issue of transportation, although in many ways I think it can be a solution to transport problems. When you're stuck in traffic, you're not stuck in traffic, you are traffic. You're holding us motorcyclists up.
That's a very true statement there. Yeah, we are holding a lot of people up.
But yeah, the criteria that I set about right at the beginning, and that the instructors also use as part of their philosophy, that if it was one of our loved ones that we are teaching, we would want to ensure that they are as safe as possible on the road. And that's the philosophy we use. It underpins everything.
That is amazing. That is amazing. You know, when we do hear it a lot, like doing these and being a coach, like we talk to business owners every day. And in your statement right there, so powerful, people. It happened by accident because you were helping somebody, which was a passion, which turned into a dream, which
Absolutely.
is, that is amazing. That is amazing. All right. So now let's dig into the nitty gritty about your business a little bit. So how long have you been in business, sir?
We first formed in 2018.
Okay.
We were effectively closed for COVID during 2020, 2021.
Right.
Despite motorcycling being quite separate, you're not in close proximity, so you're kind of segregated. The government decided that we couldn't continue with motorcycle training. So that put the business back a fair bit. So, yeah, since 2018, we started.
Would you say that was your biggest challenge being shut down? Or what would you say has been your biggest challenge in growing this business?
Yeah, I
And
think
how
there are.
did you overcome it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. There are two biggest challenges. The first was the government themselves, and I've alluded slightly to that, but the other problem is finding sufficient tests, motorcycle tests, to meet our needs, because that could stymie growth. So
Right.
there are two test centres in the part of England that we operate from, only two. So we had to really set about thinking about, well, can we help the government to help us? So first thing we did was look at other potential test centres and then take our clients there and looked at different transport methods of doing that. I put them in a van with the motorcycles, take them there, take the motorcycles out, give them some practice local, take them to their test. I wrote to the Secretary of State for Transport and offered to, because there was a big focus on car testing, and in Great Britain they got behind on car testing. So motorcycling was pretty much left alone. So I offered that if you take certain training schools, and it wasn't just about my own training school, but certain chosen training schools could do some of the off-road testing, which is the less risk area, they could do that, freeing up their examiners to then do the full road testing on cars until they were able to come back on motorcycles. So that was one point I did. The other was, let's look at the scheduling of your instructors. Work with me to look at the scheduling of your your examiners, so that your examiners are being utilised effectively and they're not changing out of motorcycle equipment to go and get into a car and vice versa. So let's have a look at how they're scheduled to say that they're full-time employed on either motorcycle or car to give them more time to do either. So that was how we worked with the government. So that was the one challenge. And the other one I've alluded to already was putting the right staff in place, getting the right
Right.
instructors. So not just employing them for their skills in teaching and motorcycle skills, but ensuring they really value the business. Now, what we've done to do that, yes, we've altered the pay structure and brought that along, but we engage with our instructors in our policy making as well. So we don't just do it to them, we do it with them. We take them on the journey. And if they understand why the policies are what they are, then they're much more likely to adopt them.
I love this. Okay, so that's really intriguing to me. So would you say with all of these conversations, you're an innovator in motorcycle training in the UK at this moment in time?
I think I am there with others. I'm not going to take all the limelight. I did a Motorcycle Industry Association course a couple of years back, and I'm the only one in Camrider as a group of franchises throughout the UK. And I am the only one within that group of franchises that did that and passed the accreditation course. And the MCAA are influential in the Department of Transport in improving motorcycle training. So I do get asked to be involved in motorcycle training changes and legislation changes with the government.
I love this. Okay, so looking at that, what do you think is going to be the next innovation? And if it's proprietary, don't say it, obviously. But I mean, doing that takes a lot of wherewithal to be able to reach and learn and talk to all of these organizations to help structure it for your business, but more importantly, for the humans that are taking it. So, what would you say if you're looking at innovation moving forward? What would you say you're looking at doing for innovating in the training world?
Yeah, well, there's a number of things. So I'm going to try and break this down if I can. So electric vehicles are becoming very, very popular and greener energy. Now, there's been a great reluctance in the motorcycle world to embrace electric motorcycles. Again, I think we're one of the first to have. We have some of our own electric vehicles, but we also work with a electric motorcycle dealer. So any of their customers, when they bring the bike to us, we teach them on the bike so that they have the full license done, but on a electric motorcycle. What we need to do to take that further is to get the Driver Vehicle Standards Agency, the part of the government deal with this, more on board with doing electric vehicle or allowing people to take tests on electric vehicles and changing the way in which the examinations work. So that's one piece of work. But the other piece of work is to actually change the testing criteria as it is now. So there's two tests. One is an off-road test where you're learning certain skills. Now, it's supposed to mimic things that you do on the road, but it doesn't. And I think we need to innovate and change some of that so it's a little bit more realistic to what will be going on the road. A small example of this is there's a thing called a U-turn on the road where you start on one side of the walkway and ride to the curb on the other side of the walkway. Nobody ever does that in reality because of why would you? Why would you risk on an expensive machine turning your bike in, which is 7 metres wide in a UK standard road? So there's various ways of doing that. Now, if they want to mimic a tight turn, then let's mimic a tight turn, but in a different way. So it's the tight turn to the right. So let's mimic in a different way, and let's do a mini roundabout instead, because it's much more realistic, because that's where you're likely to turn. So, and it's just things like that. It's helping the DVSA to sort of change some of the things that have crept into the tests that are not necessary. The test is there to test the skills that they need on the road. So let's make it like a road then.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, there's a lot of those tests out there that I believe were created by engineers that have no practicality in anybody's world, right? So I can't wait to hear more about that. All right, so let's in the beginning, you alluded when we first did the introduction about your growth. So looking at your growth, how did you personally have to grow, and what did you most have to learn to create your success?
There were a number of things, and I found ActionCOACH. It was challenging, but challenging in the right way, because I had some mindset that, well, actually, I was a manager. I was successful in the police, senior officer, senior detective officer. I kind of know my business, but I was realistic, and that's why I came to ActionCOACH in the first place, because I was realistic and said, well, actually, business is something I don't know too much about. And again, I said at the beginning was, okay, you need to set yourself some goals. Now, I was used to goals and target setting within the police service, so that wasn't too bad. But to dream big, now that didn't come easy to me, to dream big. So what would it really be? What would your dream, what would my dream life look like if I could achieve it? And I thought about this. No, I don't want a super yacht. I'm too old for that. And but I do like my holidays, and I'm on one now. And so, yes, I'd like to have sufficient money and sufficient people in place that I can go away on holiday, leave the business running perfectly. So I think that was one of the things I did personally to grow, is to allow the release of the reins into other people by developing them, knowing that they can make the decisions that will be the right decisions, and I can go away, step away from it, and know that the business is running well without me being continually at the helm.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you're living our definition of a successful business, right? A commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you every day. I think that's wonderful. So tell me, let's just talk about that statement, to trust other people. How did you personally have to build that trust? How did you release the oh my gosh, the fear of not being there for everything? How did you do that?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to have the processes in place. So we are determined by some government processes, but that doesn't run the company. So the training that we do, you have to train in a certain way to meet the criteria set down by the government, and they send an examiner out to assess what you're doing against that. So that part of it was fairly easy for me, Andy, in as much as, yeah, that's done, I can rely on my staff to do that. But how are they going to run the business without me being there? So one of the things was, let's start looking at the way in which we want to put our culture into the business and the way in which we want to run our business. Let's start having all the processes, all the policies in place, and then start training and engaging with our staff to ensure they not just read the policies, but they understand those policies. They understand what the culture is. We're still doing that because it's an ever-evolving, ever-developing piece of work. Now, some of the issues were, and I had it in the police service as well, I'm the boss, so they deferred the decision-making to me. So I would just simply turn it around, as I've been coached to do. Yeah, that's really good. I understand the question. If you were sat where I am sat, how would you do this? What would be your solution to this particular issue? What factors are you taking into consideration in solving it? Excellent. Well, that's great. So next time you have a problem, come to me with the problem by all means. But I also want you to come with a solution and what you think is the best solution. And that's how I started to develop the senior staff around me. And now it's second nature to them. Now, yes, they keep me informed, but they're no longer asking the questions.
Excellent. So you're not running the business today from Spain. The business is running without you. Granted, you were gracious enough to come online to do a podcast with us, which we appreciate.
As a matter of fact, just prior to coming online with you, I did indeed chair a meeting with my directors. But yeah, I'm very comfortable being here in Spain. I went through the agenda with them, got their updates and everything, so I'm kept informed. But there was no decision-making process for me, Andy, because of that's already being done. It's taken care of by having the staff and allowing the staff to develop. That's the important thing. You've got to allow them to develop. You've got to allow them to, if they make mistakes, well, okay, let's reflect on that mistake and how we can improve it in future. But to be honest, I haven't had too many mistakes.
Love it. Love it. All right. So let's look at business coaching for a minute. So, one, tell everybody, I have two-part question. One, how long have you been with Action Coach? And two, who is your coach and how has that relationship developed?
Yeah, that's great. I've been coached since October 2022. So just a little over 2 years now. And my coach is a gentleman called Martin Bailey. He is in Action Coach in Bury St Edmunds, a beautiful town in Suffolk. And he never allows me to fall below the line. Now, I know that's a statement you'll understand, but maybe people don't understand. But he ensures I stay positive, that I take responsibility for my own actions and for my own behaviours, and make sure that I never, ever sort of blame someone else or get into blame culture, those sort of things. Everything that he's done has been so Well, it's made such a big change to the business. It's made such a big change to me as a person. We now talk, and he says, "You are a businessman now. You really get it. You really understand it." And that's great. It's great to hear that from a coach to say you get it, you understand it.
Love it. Love it. There's a lot of people, and I hear this question, but let's get your perspective of it. So you've been in coaching a little over 2 years. So tell the people out here that are wondering or if they should get a coach, why 2 years? Why not 1 month? Why not 6 months? Why 2 years? And why do you continue?
Yeah, okay, yeah, and that's a very easy question to answer because I'm still learning. I've still got so much to learn. Now, it's a journey that I'm on, and I want to continue with that journey with a coach, knowing that they're going to be right behind me, guiding me, and giving me so much more information. It's not just about, well, this is how you run a business, and stop. It's this is how you business, and this is how you continue to grow your business. This is how you continue to grow the business, and we can grow this with you. And so it's a journey of growth. Now, I've only been with Action Coach for 2 years, but in that 2 years, my turnover has trebled. My profit has quadrupled. If I continue this journey, I will become that millionaire that I set out to be when I had the vision back in 2019. I didn't know how to do it then,
That
but by
is
engaging,
amazing. I love
engaging the
that.
coach.
Yeah, I love it. So, for those of you that are listening right here, Queen's English, if you're listening and you're in the US, turnover is revenue, right? They just want to make sure they understand. So they're like, what does that mean? Because here, sometimes we call turnover employee turnover, meaning they come and go. So thank you very much. All right. So I love that. You have quadrupled your profit.
Yes.
That is amazing. Congratulations, folks that you're out there listening. These are real people, real results. All right. So I have a few more questions. All right. First question. What So, I'm going to say this two ways. What advice would you go back and give 25-year-old Alan?
Oh gosh, 25-year-old Alan. I was 25-year-old Alan was a very young police officer, probably a dog handler at that time, and he might have given himself different advice. One, stay a dog handler instead of getting promoted. But the other thing is, I wish I'd have got into business much earlier. I really do.
That is amazing.
So I think the 25-year-old Alan says, look, you've got nothing to fear in that big bad world because of being in public service can be a big comfort blanket. Coming out of that is scary, but I now realise that actually with the right coaching, with the right people behind you, and with the right frame of mind, because you have to have that. You know, it's you've got to know where you want to be, but with help.
Absolutely.
But with help, I think the 25-year-old might have been an entrepreneur back then instead of waiting till I'm old.
I love it. I love it. All right. Final question. Top piece of advice you would give to another entrepreneur or business owner today?
Okay. I would say don't think that you know everything. There is always so much more to learn. Take a stock of where you are, look where you want to be, have a vision, go for it. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Alan, I want to say a big thank you from all of us here at Epic Entrepreneur Podcast, and we really appreciate your advice and anything to add.
It's been fantastic talking to you too. My journey with Action Coach has been fantastic. I can't thank Action Coach enough. When I get an opportunity to do so, and I've now got an opportunity to do so, I want to say a big thank you to Action Coach because it's been really enlightening to me as somebody who had a public service background and did not know about business. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And if you want to share your stories about your journey as an owner, please reach out to us here at Epic Entrepreneur Podcast, and we would love to have you all here. Thanks again, Alan.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's epic conversation here on Epic Entrepreneurs. Huge thanks to our amazing guest for their pouring their heart into sharing their journey. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, share it, or hit that bell. But until next time, let's make sure you keep dreaming, take massive action, and stay epic.